Hello, I'm Tony Ewalt, president of Sletten Construction. At Sletten Construction, safety isn't just a priority, it's a culture that drives everything we do. It's the first thing we think about when we start a new project, and it's at the forefront of every planned task until the job is complete. We firmly believe that no project is so urgent, no timeline so tight, and no task is so critical that it should come at the cost of safety. Safety isn't just a priority. It's one of our core values that guides every decision we make. I want you to know that safety is supported from the top down. This is why we invest heavily in the best safety programs, equipment, technology, and resources available. Our commitment to safety is evident throughout the company. This includes the tireless hours from our safety team to support our projects and continuously improving our daily safety protocols. But safety at Sletten is more than systems and procedures. It's a culture. We never accept good enough. We embrace each person on our team playing a vital role in maintaining safety as a priority, and it's important that we continuously evaluate our practices. It's about watching out for one another, speaking up, and making sure every voice is heard. We've built a collaborative environment where safety is a shared responsibility, and everyone contributes to a safer workplace. By doing so, we ensure that our teams return home safely to their families each day. Thank you for being part of the Sletten Construction family. Together, we're building more than just projects. We're building a legacy of safety, responsibility, and care. As president of Sletten Construction, I want to remind each and every one of you that we are more than just a team. We are a family. And as part of the family, I challenge all of you to look out for one another, to speak up when you see something unsafe, and to take every step necessary to keep yourselves and each other safe. At the end of the day, nothing is more important than making sure everyone goes home safely. Thank you.
My name is Jeremy Garness. I'm with the Sletten shop. I've been with the company 26 years. Currently the transportation and forms coordinator for our shop, among other duties. On July 12th, 2010, I was then working as our yard guy, and there was a need for what we used to use, empty 55-gallon drums for storage. Somebody needed one, so I had to cut the lid off of it. It was empty, but there was some fume buildup in the bottom, and I ended up cutting it off with the oxygen acetylene torch. I heated up the top of the lid, and as soon as I touched the oxygen to cut the lid, the barrel exploded in my face. I was life flighted to Harborview Medical Center, where I spent originally 69 days and about 9 surgeries in the hospital, and regraft on my left armpit, and I was burned on 69% of my body. I had 3 other surgeries after that, 1 on each elbow. So in all, I spent 96 days in the hospital, 15 surgeries. At the time, my dad was my boss. He was the equipment manager. He was one of the first ones to get to me. My wife had just started her new job. I had 3-year-old twins. The impact it had on them, honestly, I can't even describe it. I know it was hard on them, but they were young enough where, they really didn't know what was going on. My kids are now 18, graduated high school. My son's going to play college football. My daughter's going into the medical field. There's a lot of things the last 15 years that I would have missed. There's, a lot of things that people take for granted, day in and day out, and I used to be one of those, but I don't anymore, because, as the saying goes, anything can change in the blink of an eye, snap of a finger, however you want to refer to it. Your family, wife, kids, whatever your situation may be, are, expecting you to come home safe to them every day, be able for you to provide for your family. piece of advice to the workers, especially new workers out there. There's always a quick way to do things, but there's always a right way to do things too. More likely than not, the quick way is gonna get you or somebody else in trouble, and it's not the way to go about things. If you have any questions, don't be afraid to ask. A lot of times somebody will say, hey, go do this, and maybe you don't quite totally understand. Just make sure you totally understand what they're asking, how they're asking. Don't, try to take the shortcut to, impress anybody or whatever else, because just do it right, do it safe the first time. And we here at Sletten also want that for you. We want you to be safe, be able to go home every day, come back to work the following day. And we're really a family-oriented company, and we like to keep it that way. And the biggest way to do that is, keep everybody out on the job safe and sound.
Project Safety Goals and Job Hazard Analysis, JHA. At Sletten Construction, our primary safety objectives for this project are to achieve zero accidents, zero injuries, and full compliance with all OSHA regulations. Attaining these goals requires effective teamwork, unwavering adherence to safety protocols, and a collective commitment to upholding the highest safety standards without compromise. The Job Hazard Analysis, JHA, process is vital for maintaining a safe work environment. A JHA, also referred to as a job safety analysis, is a systematic procedure used to identify and assess potential hazards associated with specific tasks. By recognizing and addressing these hazards proactively, we reduce the likelihood of workplace injuries and create a safer work environment for all employees. The importance of a JHA lies in its ability to anticipate and mitigate risks before they result in harm. It also serves as a critical tool for accident investigations and employee training, ensuring that tasks are completed safely and efficiently. JHAs must be conducted for all significant tasks, including excavation, scaffolding, lockout-tagout, confined space entry, fall protection, framing, shipping, demolition, and concrete forming and pouring. These analyses require active involvement from employees as they possess invaluable insights into the tasks being performed and can contribute to identifying the most effective and safe approaches. While completing a JHA demands time and attention, it is an essential investment in preventing injuries and fostering a safe work environment. To further support our safety culture, weekly toolbox talks are mandatory. These short meetings provide a forum to address potential hazards, review JHAs, and ensure that all safety procedures are understood and properly implemented. Employee attendance is required, with all participants signing in to confirm their participation. Personal protective equipment, PPE, and equipment training. Safety on all Sletten construction projects begins with the proper use of personal protective equipment, PPE. All employees are required to wear the following safety gear while on site: reflective vests, safety glasses, hard hats, sleeve shirts, long pants, and boots. Gloves should be worn based on specific task requirements. Fall protection is required for any tasks conducted at a height of 6 feet or more. Additionally, hearing protection is mandatory whenever noise levels exceed 85 decibels. Employees must receive proper training on all equipment they are required to operate, including forklifts, snorkel lifts, boom lifts, and cranes. Proof of training must be always carried while on site. Additionally, a daily documented inspection form must be available on each piece of equipment in operation to ensure proper functionality and adherence to safety regulations. Ladder safety and housekeeping guidelines. Ensuring ladder safety is essential when accessing different levels. Always ensure that the ladder extends at least 3 feet above the landing to provide a secure handhold when transitioning on or off the ladder. Prior to use, the ladder must be securely fastened at both the top and the bottom. Before climbing, thoroughly inspect the ladder for any defects, ensuring that the ladder is in good condition and that all labels, are present and legible. If any issues are found, immediately remove the ladder from service. When setting up an extension ladder, adhere to the 4-to-1 ratio. This means for every 4 feet of height, the base should be positioned 1 foot away from the structure. Always use the ladder in its fully open position and place it on a firm, level ground. Never use a step ladder that is folded or placed in a leaning position, and avoid standing or sitting on the top 2 rungs of any ladder. Select the appropriate ladder for the task at hand and ensure that the surrounding area is free of hazards or debris. Maintaining a clean and organized work area is equally important. All work areas, including walkways, stairways, access points, and egress routes, must be kept clear of debris and material. Regularly cleaning workspaces helps prevent trip, slip, and fall hazards. Particular attention should be paid to scaffolds, ladders, ramps, stairs, and electrical or mechanical equipment. Subcontractors are responsible for their daily cleanup. Good housekeeping is essential for fostering a safe and productive work environment, and it plays a critical role in the successful and safe completion of Sletten projects. Please dispose of your lunch waste in designated trash containers. If one is unavailable, kindly request one. Fall protection. Ensuring proper fall protection is a fundamental aspect of maintaining a safe work environment. The superintendent for each contractor on site is responsible for overseeing all aspects of the fall protection program. Any contractor with employees exposed to fall hazards must designate a competent person to manage the proper use and maintenance of fall protection and personal protective equipment, PPE. In accordance with OSHA regulations, fall protection must be provided for all work conducted at elevations of 6 feet or higher in the construction industry. This requirement may vary depending on which state you are working. Fall protection is also required when working above hazardous equipment or machinery, regardless of the fall distance. All fall protection system components must be inspected prior to each use. Inspections should include checks for mildew, wear, damage, and deterioration. Any defective components that compromise the functionality or strength must be immediately removed from service. For this project, personal fall arrest systems are mandatory for any work conducted at heights of 6 feet or more when conventional fall protection is not in place. Conventional fall protection includes a guardrail system with a top rail positioned at 42 inches and a mid-rail at 21 inches. The guardrail must be able to withstand a minimum force of 200 pounds in all directions, upward, inward, and outward. A personal fall arrest system includes critical safety equipment such as a full body harness, lanyard, horizontal and/or vertical lifelines, and a self-retracting lifeline. Anchorage points must support at least 5,000 pounds, or in the case of an engineered system, a minimum of 3,600 pounds. To maximize safety, 100% tie-off is required at all times when utilizing a personal fall arrest system. By adhering to these stringent fall protection standards, we can mitigate the risk of accidents and ensure a secure work environment for all personnel on site. Excavation safety protocols. All contractors with employee engaged in excavation work are required to designate a competent person to oversee all excavation activities. These individuals must always remain present on site during excavation operations to ensure strict adherence to safety protocols and to promptly mitigate any hazards that may arise. Per OSHA, the competent person must conduct daily inspections of trenches and excavations before each shift and as needed throughout the workday to ensure safety. Excavations exceeding a depth of 5 feet must be safeguarded through appropriate methods, including shoring, sloping, or benching to prevent the risk of cave-ins. For excavations reaching a depth of 4 feet or greater, a safe means of entry and exit, such as a stairway, ladder, or ramp, must be provided and positioned within 25 feet of the worker's location. All employees working in or around excavations must receive comprehensive training to identify potential hazards, including the risks of cave-ins, falls, safe entry and exit procedures, and the dangers posed by adjacent excavation equipment. Adhering to these excavation safety guidelines is essential to fostering a safer work environment and minimizing the risk of accidents and injuries on site. Excavation versus trenching. The Occupational Safety and Health Administration, OSHA, defines an excavation as any man-made cut, cavity, trench, or depression in the Earth's surface resulting from the removal of soil or other materials. Excavations can vary significantly in size and purpose, ranging from small cellars to large-scale highway construction projects. A trench, by contrast, is a specific type of excavation characterized by its depth exceeding its width, with a maximum allowable width of 15 feet. Due to the increased risk of collapse associated with trenches, additional safety measures are required to ensure the protection of workers. When shoring or trench boxes are used, tabulated data for the system must be readily available. Scaffolding Safety Protocol. Any scaffold owned, leased, rented, or controlled by Sletten Construction or its subcontractors must thoroughly be inspected by a competent person prior to use. Subcontractors utilizing Sletten-controlled scaffold must also execute a copy of the Sletten subcontractor equipment use policy. All employees who access scaffolding are required to confirm that they have received comprehensive training in scaffold usage and fall protection procedures. Scaffolds must be erected and maintained in strict accordance with the manufacturer's specifications and, where applicable, engineered drawings. In compliance with OSHA scaffolding standards, several key safety measures are mandated to protect workers. Employees working at elevations greater than 10 feet above a lower level must be safeguarded by either guardrails or a fall arrest system, except when using single-point or two-point adjustable suspension scaffolds. Workers utilizing suspension scaffolds must be protected by both a personal fall arrest system and a guardrail system. The top rail of any scaffold should be set at a height of 42 inches with an allowable variance of no more than 3 inches. The mid-rail must be positioned at approximately 21 inches with a permissible deviation of up to 3 inches. All scaffolds and their components must be capable of supporting, without failure, their own weight in addition to at least 4 times the maximum intended load. This requirement is essential to maintain the scaffold's structural integrity and to safeguard workers against potential collapses and other hazards. Lockout, tagout, and confined space procedures. Prior to engaging in any task involving lockout, tagout, or confined space entry, the contractor responsible is required to conduct a job hazard analysis, JHA. This analysis must be completed before any work begins to identify potential hazards and implement appropriate safety measures. Only employees who have received the necessary training are authorized to perform lockout, tagout, or confined space procedures. It is critical that all personnel fully understand and comply with these protocols to ensure both their safety and that of their colleagues. If you encounter a situation requiring lockout, tagout, or confined space entry, and you have not received the required training, you must immediately cease work and notify your supervisor. Under no circumstances should untrained individuals attempt these tasks, as doing so presents a significant risk to health and safety. Emergency Action Plan, EAP, and Medical Response Procedures. All personnel on site must adhere to the Site-Specific Individual Emergency Action Plan, EAP, which details the proper procedures for emergency transportation and evacuation. Each site has a designated emergency action plan, and it is the responsibility of every employee to familiarize themselves with its contents and procedures. In the event of a medical emergency requiring immediate attention, promptly call 911 or the site's designated emergency response number. Clearly provide your name, exact location, and a description of the incident to ensure a swift and effective response. Remain on the line with the operator until instructed to disconnect. Above water safety procedures. Employees working over or near water must be equipped with a U.S. Coast Guard approved life jacket or buoyant work vest wherever there is a potential risk of drowning. It is the responsibility of all personnel to ensure that the safety protocols are rigorously followed at all times. In cases where a bridge deck or work platform lacks an OSHA compliant railing system, or when 100% fall protection is not in place, employees working on the deck are required to wear a U.S. Coast Guard approved life jacket or buoyant work vest. This critical safety equipment, also known as a life preserver or personal flotation device, PFD, is essential in protecting personnel from the risk of falling into water. Additionally, when working in or near water that poses a drowning hazard, a water rescue plan must be developed. The plan shall outline the roles and responsibilities of each designated rescuer and must be reviewed prior to commencing any work where the risk of drowning exists. Focus 4 Safety Hazards in Construction. Construction safety is centered on mitigating the 4 primary causes of fatalities within the industry, collectively referred to as the Focus 4 hazards: fall hazards, electrical hazards, struck by hazards, and caught in between hazards. A comprehensive understanding of these risks and the implementation of proactive safety measures are vital to maintaining a secure work environment. Fall hazards. In 2023, the U.S. construction industry saw 1,075 work-related deaths, the highest since 2011. Falls, slips, and trips caused 421 of them. That's 39.2%. Who's most at risk? Roofers, 110 deaths, around 26% of fall-related fatalities. Residential building contractors, 62 deaths. Carpenters, painters, and ironworkers. Preventing falls saves lives. Falls remain the leading cause of death in construction, but they're also among the most preventable. You can reduce this risk with following these key measures. Use fall protection equipment. Always wear properly fitted personal fall arrest systems, PFAS, such as harnesses, lanyards, and lifelines. Safety nets and positioning systems should also be used when working at height. Regularly inspect all equipment before each use. Install guardrails and secure scaffolds. Guardrails, toe boards, and midrails must be installed on all open sides and edges of elevated work areas. Scaffolds must be properly constructed, leveled, and fully planked with access ladders and secure footing. Follow safe ladder and scaffold practices. Use ladders that are the correct height and type for the job. Always set them on stable surfaces and maintain 3 points of contact. For scaffolds, ensure workers are trained and that all components meet OSHA standards. A strong safety culture, ongoing training, and regular inspections are essential to keeping workers safe. Electrical hazards. Electrocution ranks as the second leading cause of fatalities in the construction industry, contributing to 10% of all construction-related deaths. Workers can suffer fatal injuries from even standard household current if proper precautions are not followed. The primary causes of electrical injuries include contact with overhead power lines, live circuits. To mitigate electrical hazards, always identify the location of power lines before starting work, maintain a minimum distance of 10 feet from them, assume all power lines are energized, de-energize and ground lines when working in proximity, and use wood or fiberglass ladders to maintain a safe distance from power sources. Struck by hazards. Struck by hazards are the third leading cause of construction fatalities, accounting for 9.4% of deaths in 2024. About 75% involve heavy equipment, and construction workers suffer 25% of all struck by vehicle fatalities, more than any other occupation. Common causes include vehicles, falling objects, and flying debris. To prevent these incidents, use clear signage, wear high visibility gear, secure materials, and stay alert around machinery. Caught in between hazards. Caught in between hazards are the fourth leading cause of construction fatalities, accounting for 5.5% of deaths in 2024. These incidents involve workers being crushed, pinned, or trapped by materials, machinery, or equipment, most often from trench collapses, machinery entrapment, or equipment rollovers. Prevent them by following excavation safety protocols, using protective systems like trench boxes, staying clear of operating machinery, and avoiding positions between moving equipment and fixed objects. Addressing these risks is key to a safer, more efficient job site. Stop work authority, commitment to safety. At Sletten Construction, every employee is empowered with the authority and responsibility to stop work if unsafe conditions arise. Prioritizing safety is a core value. Work must always be conducted in a safe manner or not at all. If a hazard is identified, workers are expected to immediately halt operations, report the concern to a supervisor, and implement corrective actions before resuming work. Fostering a culture of safety and vigilance is essential to ensuring a secure work environment for all. Stop work authority, upholding safety standards. At Sletten Construction, we uphold a strong commitment to safety, emphasizing that every employee is both empowered and obligated to stop work when unsafe conditions are identified. Before beginning any task, employees are expected to thoughtfully assess the following. What hazards are present? Who may be affected? Am I adequately trained for this task? Am I prepared to take action if conditions become unsafe? Is there an emergency contingency plan in place? This proactive approach is a cornerstone of our safety culture. The authority to pause operations in the presence of hazards reflect our ongoing dedication to protecting every team member. We will continue to promote and reinforce this standard at all levels of our organization to ensure a safe and secure work environment. Identifying and assessing hazards. A critical component of workplace safety is the thorough identification and assessment of potential hazards before work begins. Effective hazard recognition involves a systematic evaluation of the worksite to identify conditions or substances that may pose a risk to worker health and safety. These may include, but are not limited to, flammable or combustible materials, hazardous gases, vapors, or chemicals, corrosive substances, electrical hazards or exposed wiring, confined or restricted spaces, airborne contaminants such as dust, fumes, or fibers, unstable structures or surfaces, extreme temperatures or weather-related risks. In addition to identifying physical and environmental hazards, consider task-specific risks, such as manual handling, equipment operation, and ergonomic concerns. Once hazards are identified, conduct a risk assessment to determine the likelihood and severity of potential incidents. This process allows for the implementation of effective control measures, including engineering controls, administrative policies, and the use of appropriate personal protective equipment, PPE. Regular site inspections, ongoing worker input, and clear communication are essential to maintaining an accurate understanding of hazards as conditions change. Proactive hazard identification not only prevents incidents, but enforces a strong safety culture rooted in vigilance and accountability. Ensuring proper training and readiness. Before commencing any task, ensure that all personnel involved are adequately trained and prepared. Have workers been thoroughly briefed on the job scope? Are tools and equipment in proper working order? Have workers received up-to-date training relevant to the specific task? Whether the task involves confined space entry, lockout-tagout procedures, fall protection, or heavy equipment operation, ensuring that all employees are fully qualified and competent is critical to maintaining a safe working environment. Proactive safety planning. Effective safety management starts with thorough and intentional preparation. A comprehensive job hazard analysis, JHA, must be developed for each task to identify potential risks, outline safe work procedures, and ensure the appropriate personal protective equipment, PPE, is specified and readily available. Equally important is assigning qualified personnel who are properly trained and capable of doing the task safely. Adequate oversight by supervisors or competent persons is essential to verify compliance with safety protocols and to address any emerging hazards in real time. Additional best practices in proactive safety planning include conducting pre-task safety briefings to align all team members on expectations and potential risks, establishing clear lines of communication for reporting concerns or changes in condition, reviewing emergency response procedures relevant to the scope of work, continuously evaluating and updating the JHA as site conditions or tasks evolve. Making informed decisions. Before initiating any task, it is critical to evaluate the safety of the work environment. Consider the following questions. Is it safe to proceed with the task? Are there surrounding activities that could impact safety? Have any new hazards emerged since work began? Do you have a contingency plan for unforeseen circumstances? Global Harmonization System, GHS, and chemical labeling. An understanding of the Global Harmonization System, GHS, is vital for ensuring safe handling of hazardous chemicals. The GHS includes standardized label elements and safety data sheets, SDS, which provide workers with essential information to identify and mitigate chemical risks effectively. Label formats and pictograms. Chemical labels follow a standardized format and include pictograms that convey specific hazard information. Recognizing these symbols is essential for the safe handling, storage, and transportation of chemicals. Health hazard pictogram. The health hazard pictogram indicates chemicals that pose serious health risks when mishandled. Proper precautions should always be taken when working with these substances. Skull and crossbones pictogram. This symbol, often used alongside the health hazard pictogram, signifies chemicals with acute toxicity. These substances can be fatal or toxic upon a single exposure, underscoring the importance of proper handling procedures. Exclamation mark pictogram. This pictogram, used in conjunction with the health hazard symbol, indicates chemicals with lower toxicity than those marked with the skull and crossbones. While the risks may be less severe, these substances still require appropriate caution. Flame pictogram. The flame pictogram denotes chemicals that are flammable and pose a fire risk. Extra care must be taken around ignition sources and combustible materials. Flame over circle pictogram. This symbol identifies oxidizing chemicals that release oxygen, thereby enhancing fires or potentially causing spontaneous combustion. Proper storage and handling are essential to mitigate hazardous reactions. Corrosion pictogram. The corrosion pictogram identifies chemicals that can cause severe skin burns and eye damage. Appropriate use of PPE and adherence to safe storage protocols are necessary when working with these substances. Exploding bomb pictogram. Chemicals marked with this symbol pose a significant risk of explosion. These substances must be handled and stored with the utmost caution to prevent accidents. Gas cylinder pictogram. This symbol is used to identify compressed, liquefied, and dissolved gases. Safe handling and storage practices are crucial when working with high-pressure gas cylinders. Environment pictogram. Though not mandatory for workplace safety, this symbol highlights chemicals that may pose a threat to the environment. Compliance with relevant environmental regulations is essential for protecting ecosystems and public health. Motor vehicle safety training. Ensuring the safe operation of motor vehicles on the job site is paramount to preventing accidents and maintaining a secure work environment. To uphold these standards, all vehicles must undergo a thorough inspection at the beginning of each shift. Any deficiencies should be promptly reported to a supervisor or employer, and defective equipment must be immediately taken out of service until proper repairs are completed. All installed safety devices, such as reverse alarms, reverse activated cameras, mirrors, and windows, must be fully operational before the vehicle is used. Whenever possible, Drivers should prioritize forward movement to minimize the risks associated with reversing. Forward first. Special caution should always be taken when backing up on the job site. If visibility is obstructed, the vehicle must either be equipped with a reverse signal alarm that is clearly audible above ambient noise levels, or a spotter must be designated to guide the vehicle. Continuous communication between the driver and spotter is essential. If this communication is lost, the vehicle must be stopped immediately. Worker on foot safety training. Workers on foot must remain alert in areas where vehicles are operating, avoiding standing or walking in high-risk zones. Awareness of vehicle blind spots is critical to preventing accidents. Employees should also remain attentive to reverse signal alarms and other auditory warnings in their environment to ensure personal safety. By adhering to these motor vehicle and worker safety protocols, we can significantly reduce the risk of workplace incidents and foster a secure job site for all personnel. Signal words, warning versus danger. The GHS includes standardized label elements. Chemical labels include signal words that communicate the level of risk associated with the substance. Warning indicates that the chemical is suspected of causing harm, such as a potential carcinogen. Danger signifies a higher level of risk, indicating strong scientific evidence that the substance can cause significant harm, such as cancer, if mishandled. Regardless of the signal word used, all chemicals should be handled with care. Always adhere to safety protocols, wear the appropriate PPE, and ensure proper storage to minimize exposure risks. By fully understanding and applying the Global Harmonization System guidelines, workers can enhance workplace safety and effectively manage chemical hazards. Site emergency reporting and incident procedures. Maintaining a safe work environment requires the establishment of clear emergency response and incident reporting protocols. In the event of an emergency, immediately contact 911 or the designated emergency reporting number for the job site. Each site will have a designated evacuation assembly point, which will be communicated during the site orientation. Evacuation maps will be prominently displayed throughout the job site, and all personnel are required to familiarize themselves with these locations. In the event of an evacuation, employees must proceed to the designated assembly area and remain there until accounted for. Employees are not permitted to leave the assembly point until their supervisor has confirmed their presence and communicated it to a Sletten representative. All injuries, incidents, and near-miss events, regardless of severity, must be promptly reported to a member of the Sletten management team. An investigation of any accident, incident, or near-miss must be conducted by the responsible subcontractor with a detailed report submitted to a Sletten management representative within 24 hours of the occurrence. Near-miss reporting is essential for identifying potential hazards and implementing corrective actions to prevent more serious incidents. Statistical data indicates that for every 300 near-miss events, there is a potential for one catastrophic event. By addressing near misses, we can proactively reduce risks and maintain a safer work environment for all employees. Fire Prevention and Protection Plan. Ensuring fire safety on the job site is critical in safeguarding both personnel and property. Fire extinguishers with a minimum rating of 2A must be strategically located throughout the protected area of the building. A minimum of one extinguisher must be provided for every 3,000 square feet or major fraction thereof. The maximum travel distance from any point within the protected area to the nearest fire extinguisher must not exceed 100 feet. All firefighting equipment provided by the employer must be clearly visible and undergo regular inspections. This includes mandatory monthly and annual checks to verify compliance and ensure operational functionality. Hot work safety. Any temporary operation involving open flames, heat, or sparks requires a hot work permit. This includes, but is not limited to, brazing, cutting, grinding, soldering, thawing, and welding. A designated fire watch must be present during all hot work activities and remain on duty for a minimum of 30 minutes after work is completed, including during scheduled breaks. Fire watch personnel must focus exclusively on this task, responsible for identifying fire hazards and halting work if necessary. To maintain a safe work environment, strict adherence to fire safety protocols is required. Work areas must remain clear of debris to reduce potential fire hazards. Smoking and open flames are prohibited in the vicinity of flammable liquids. Only approved safety gas cans should be used for the storage and handling of flammable materials. Emergency exits, doors, aisles, ladders, and stairways must remain unobstructed at all times to ensure safe and efficient evacuation. Additionally, fire safety equipment must never be tampered or blocked to ensure its effectiveness in the event of an emergency. When using a fire extinguisher, always ensure a clear exit or escape route is behind you. This precaution ensures that, should the extinguisher malfunction or the fire escalate, you can evacuate swiftly and safely. Understanding fire extinguishers. Fire extinguishers are designed to be used during the incipient stage of a fire, when flames are still small and manageable, such as those that might occur in a trash can. Different fire extinguisher types are tailored to specific fire hazards. Type A, for ordinary combustibles, including wood, paper, cloth, and most plastics. Type B, for flammable liquids such as oils, gasoline, and solvents. Type C, for electrical fires involving energized circuits. Type D, for combustible metals such as magnesium, titanium, aluminum, sodium, and potassium. Type K, specifically for kitchen fires involving animal or vegetable oils. Fire extinguisher components and inspections. To ensure proper functionality, fire extinguishers must be regularly inspected and maintained. Key components to check include safety pin, must remain securely in place to prevent accidental discharge. Nozzle, should be free from blockages or obstructions. Pressure gauge, must indicate a full charge showing within the green zone. Handle and canister, should be free from cracks, leaks, or visible damage. The contents can vary, including dry chemicals, carbon dioxide, or water, depending on the type of extinguisher. Using a fire extinguisher, the PASS method. To operate a fire extinguisher effectively, follow the PASS method. Pull the pin. Aim the nozzle at the base of the flames. Squeeze the handle to discharge the extinguishing agent. Sweep the nozzle from side to side until the fire is completely extinguished. Inspection and maintenance requirements. Annual inspections must be conducted by a licensed fire extinguisher maintenance provider. The inspection tag should clearly display the most recent annual inspection date within the last calendar year. Monthly inspections and pre-use checks. Ensure the extinguisher is intact, including the tank, trigger, handle, hose, and gauge. Verify that the gauge is in the green zone, indicating a full charge. Confirm the safety pin is securely in place to prevent accidental activation. Ensure the annual inspection tag is affixed and legible. Heat illness prevention. Both Nevada and California have implemented mandatory regulations to protect workers from heat-related illnesses. These standards apply to the following workers: employees conducting work in outdoor environments and indoor locations without effective climate control. All construction operations, including but not limited to building, excavation, utility, roofing, and site prep work. Employers with 10 or more employees in Nevada and every construction employer in California. In California, employers must follow Section 3395 of the Cal-OSHA standards, including high heat procedures for temperatures above 95 degrees Fahrenheit. In Nevada, enforcement begins April 29, 2025, under Regulation R131-24AP, with similar baseline protections. Required protections. Employers must provide the following for their employees: potable drinking water. Must be fresh, pure, suitably cool, and provided free of charge. Supplied close to the work area. Quantity must support at least 1 quart per employee per hour. In both states, workers must be encouraged to drink water frequently, especially in high heat environments. Access to shade or cooling areas. Required when ambient temperatures exceed 80 degrees Fahrenheit. Shaded or cooled areas must accommodate the number of employees on break without overcrowding. Workers must be allowed to take preventative cool-down rest breaks at any time they feel the need. Rest and recovery protocols. Employees exhibiting symptoms of heat illness must be immediately relocated to a shaded or cool area. Affected employees must be monitored and not return to work until symptoms resolve. Monitoring requirements. Each site in Nevada must assign a designated heat monitor responsible for observing workers for signs of heat illness, monitoring environmental heat conditions, initiating emergency medical services when necessary, enforcing access to water, rest, and shade, ensuring procedures are followed for remote or lone workers, including scheduled check-ins and emergency escalation plans. California requires additional high heat observation measures when the temperature is at or above 95 degrees Fahrenheit, such as supervisor observation of small crews, a mandatory buddy system, reliable communication devices. Job hazard analysis. Nevada employers must complete a job hazard analysis, JHA, for each new task that includes heat illness prevention. JHAs must be filled out per task or job classification, re-reviewed if job conditions change, must list job classifications and tasks where heat illness exposure may occur, must include mitigation steps such as engineering controls, administrative measures, and PPE. This JHA must be documented and available during inspections. Acclimatization. Heat acclimatization is the process by which the body gradually adapts to working in hot environments, typically over a period of 7 to 14 days. During this time, the body improves its ability to regulate temperature by increasing sweat efficiency and stabilizing heart rate. Workers who are new to heat or returning after an absence are at higher risk and must ease into full workloads to allow safe acclimatization. New employees and those returning from absences must gradually increase their workload over 7 to 14 days. Supervisors must closely monitor during initial exposure or heat waves. California defines a heat wave as a day that is 10 degrees Fahrenheit hotter than the average of the previous 5 days and above 80 degrees Fahrenheit. High heat procedures. When temperatures reach or exceed 95 degrees Fahrenheit, employers must conduct pre-shift meetings reviewing hydration and rest policies, give frequent reminders to drink water, have mandatory cool-down periods, have special observation and communication protocols. Emergency medical response. Employers in both states must have a clear and effective emergency protocol. Ensure immediate communication with supervisors and emergency responders. Provide clear directions to the site for emergency medical services. Do not leave affected workers alone and do not send them home without proper assessment. Maintain monitoring and documentation until EMS arrives. Best practices for compliance. Designate heat monitors for each active crew. Use mobile apps such as the OSHA NIOSH Heat Safety Index tool to track real-time heat index. Conduct daily tailgate briefings during high heat. Reinforce the use of buddy systems. Provide cooling gear or shade trailers when feasible. Conduct periodic mock emergency drills. Effective heat safety practices reduce medical incidents, protect productivity, and support a safe work culture. Supervisors must remain vigilant, and all personnel must be empowered to act in the interest of safety without fear of reprisal. All workers are encouraged to hydrate regularly, take cooling breaks as needed, report any symptoms promptly, look out for their fellow crew members. Silica awareness training. Silica is a naturally occurring mineral that is abundant in the Earth's crust. It exists in two primary forms, crystalline and non-crystalline, amorphous. Common examples of crystalline silica include sand and quartz. When materials containing crystalline silica are disturbed, such as through activities like cutting, grinding, or drilling, respirable silica dust can be generated, which poses significant health risks to construction workers. Construction materials containing silica. Silica is present in numerous construction materials, including but not limited to bricks, cement, concrete, drywall, grout, mortar, stone, sand, and tile. Even minimal exposure to respirable silica dust can present a serious health hazard, underscoring the importance of proper exposure control practices in construction settings. Health risks of silica exposure. Crystalline silica is classified as a known human carcinogen by the World Health Organization, WHO, International Agency for Research on Cancer, IARC, since 1996 and reaffirmed in 2009. It has also been linked to other severe health conditions, including lung cancer, as noted by the prominent health organizations such as the American Thoracic Society and the American College of Occupational and Environmental Medicine. One of the most concerning diseases caused by silica exposure is silicosis, a progressive and irreversible lung disease. Silica particles, when inhaled, become trapped in the lungs and cause scarring, leading to the formation of hard nodules. Over time, this results in significant respiratory complications and can ultimately be fatal. OSHA compliance and protective measures. To mitigate the risks associated with silica exposure, the Occupational Safety and Health Administration, OSHA, enforces strict regulations. Table 1 of the OSHA standard identifies 18 high-risk tasks commonly associated with respirable silica dust exposure, each requiring specific engineering controls and work practices to ensure that the permissible exposure limit, PEL, is not exceeded. Employers are required to develop and implement a comprehensive written exposure control plan, which must include a clear description of tasks that involve potential silica exposure, engineering controls, work practices, and appropriate respiratory protection measures, housekeeping procedures to minimize silica dust accumulation, protocols for restricting access to high exposure areas, respiratory protection and safe work practices. When performing tasks that expose workers to silica dust, appropriate respiratory protection is essential. When engineering or administrative controls are ineffective in reducing the amount of silica present, employees may need to wear a properly fitted respirator. Proper respirator use. Position the respirator under the chin with the nosepiece facing upwards. Mold the nosepiece to ensure a secure fit around the nose. Negative fit check. Cup hands over the respirator and inhale sharply. The respirator should collapse slightly with no air leakage around the seal. Positive fit check. Cup hands over the respirator and exhale. A buildup of air should be felt inside the respirator with no air escaping around the seal. Preventing silica dust contamination outside the worksite. To reduce the risk of silica dust contamination in homes and vehicles, the National Institute for Occupational Safety and Health, NIOSH, recommends changing into disposable or washable work clothing before leaving the job site, showering prior to returning home if possible, storing work clothing separately from personal items, parking vehicles away from areas where silica dust is prevalent. Additional information and resources. For further guidance on silica safety, employers and employees should refer to OSHA's silica standards for construction. These regulations provide in-depth details on silica-related hazards, control measures, and required safety practices. If you have any questions about silica safety protocols or need assistance with workplace procedures, please contact the project superintendent for further clarification. Thank you for choosing Sletten Companies. We are committed to ensuring your safety as our top priority.